Okay, you may relate to this and you may not. I'm Cathy McLeish. I'm an alcoholic in recovery, 37 years. And let me just talk about what it's like to get comfortable with the title alcoholic. Okay, so this is my journey. One, I had somebody that really tried to help me get sober when I was in my last year of drinking. God loved the person. It was not an easy task. I couldn't see the truth about my drinking. And whenever he would come around, I would offer him a drink. So that is not a smart thing. If you're newly sober, stay away from people like me, even if you want to help them. But I do appreciate the fact that he did, because eventually he got me to a place where I could get my alcoholic husband help. And in that atmosphere, I heard them talking about me. So I heard alcoholics talking about me. And I didn't say that, that person that was helping me, I felt sorry for him that he was an alcoholic. I felt like, if my life ever got that bad, if my drinking was ever that bad, I would go get help too. But to end up being an alcoholic, to end up calling yourself an alcoholic, even if you say in recovery after that, man, that's a drag, that's pitiful. Well, I don't feel that way today. But there was a process I had to go through, because I certainly felt that way in the beginning. I felt like, oh my gosh, they're talking about me in this atmosphere, and they're alcoholics. And their story sounds like my story. So simple math tells me that I might be that ugly word, that alcoholic. And I can remember even that day, I was given a chance to say something. And I said, I'm Cathy. I hide a lot of my drinking. I think I must be alcoholic, but I cannot imagine quitting, and I certainly cannot imagine quitting forever. So, isn't it funny that as much as I hated that word, alcoholic, I could say it. And you know what? Here's why. Because I was in a room full of people saying they were alcoholic. So there's a freedom there. If you're in a room full of people and they're, Weight Watchers, they're all overweight, it's easy to talk about being overweight. It's just an atmosphere of, these are my people and I can own what I am or what I think I am or what I'm starting to find out I struggle with. That atmosphere is okay. Other atmospheres, not so much. I can remember early on, my daughter, who was 3.5 when I got sober, was sitting at my kitchen table with a friend, and they were coloring. And I'm just whatever, doing dishes or whatever, but I am doing something right in that area, and I hear her talking to him. And they're talking about their favorite drinks. And the little guy says, well, my favorite drink is root beer. And she perks up and she says, oh, we can't have root beer at our house. And he's like, why? And she says, because my mom is alcoholic. And it was like, alcoholic. It's like she couldn't hardly get the word out of her cute little face. But when I heard it, it was like getting hit in the face with a baseball bat. It was like, oh my gosh, what did she just say? She just said, I'm alcoholic. Even if you say I'm alcoholic, even if you say it's sweet, it sounded horrible at 1 month sobriety. It sounded horrible to hear a third person call me an alcoholic. And so the reality of that didn't hit for a while. In my comfort zone, with another person that was in recovery, with people that were in recovery, I could own and say I was alcoholic because it was safe, it was easy, everybody was doing it, and it didn't bother me. But outside of that, to have someone else explain the fact that I was alcoholic and I could not drink, that was difficult. I can remember a story, it breaks my heart when I think about it, but it's very tender. I was probably 3 months sober, 4 months sober, maybe 6 months sober. Anyways, I gone to the grocery store and I was having girlfriends, over that night, girlfriends I'd had since high school. So I'm maybe 27, 28 years old. And I bought a case of beer. Wasn't gonna drink any of it, but I was having people over, and when you have people over, you have beer or wine or something, don't you? I mean, no, you don't have to. As a recovering person, you don't have to. That is a personal choice. But I hadn't, matured enough to make that choice. So anyways, here's what happens. The beer is in the foyer with all the other groceries. My daughter, who is like 4, pushes the case of beer around, slides it on the tile through to the refrigerator. She opens up the case of beer and starts to put it in the refrigerator. My stepson, who's probably 15, comes up from the basement and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm putting the beer in the refrigerator so Mom doesn't touch it." And he's like, "Why would you do that?" And she's like, "Because our mom's an alcoholic, and if she drinks, she will die." And he was like, whoa, I know Mom's an alcoholic, but if she drinks, she's not gonna die. And she turned to him like ice cold serious and said, "I go to the meetings, you don't, I know." And wow, I'm watching this like it's an out-of-body experience. And my 4-year-old is telling my 15-year-old that I'm an alcoholic. If I drink, I will die, and I should not have alcohol in my home. And if I do, for some dumb reason, I'm not gonna touch it if she has anything to say about it. Whenever I tell that story, it gives me shivers. My daughters did go to meetings with me. If I had to go to a recovery meeting and it was an open meeting where anybody could come off the street, a parent could come and see about alcoholism if their child had a problem, a spouse could come and see what alcoholism was about if their spouse had a problem. I took my daughters there because sometimes I didn't have the money to pay for a babysitter. Sometimes I just wanted them with me because I was afraid to go alone. How silly is that? Sometimes I felt as I got older and stronger that my daughters needed to know that that was a safe place, that those people were good people in the solution, because hereditarily, if they ever had the problem, I wanted them to know where to go. I didn't know that when I was fighting my alcoholism. I had no idea where to go or what to do. I couldn't have named a person until that friend got sober and came into my life to help me. And I never wanted that for any of my kids. So I exposed my kids. Some people would say, "Why do you have your kids? They hear cuss words. These people are just a little rough around the edges. Why do you have your kids here?" And 1, I was allowed to. And 2, I wanted them to experience that rather than experience what I experienced, not knowing what recovery looked like. So if you're gonna hear a few cuss words in a room of recovery versus your parents fighting and hitting each other and calling the police while cuss words are flying, I would choose the former instead of the latter. Anyways, getting comfortable with the fact that I am Cathy and I am an alcoholic took a period of time. And you know what? So what? I was reaping the benefits all along before I got comfortable with being an alcoholic. Today I am. And believe me, it didn't take forever. I got comfortable in that space where other people were alcoholics very easily. Then I started to get comfortable outside of that space. And then the more that I had to offer, the stronger I got. At 5 and 10 years of sobriety, I got very comfortable saying, I have this gift. I know how to stay away from a drink. And if you know somebody, whether I was telling somebody at my church, whether I was telling my doctor, whether I was telling those girlfriends that I had, that I played cards with since high school, if you know anybody that has this problem and needs some help, I would be glad to help connect them. Because when I needed help, I didn't know how to get connected. Because there weren't a lot of, I'm sure there were a lot of alcoholics. I'm sure there were even a lot of alcoholics in recovery. Not as many as there are today, but back then. But there weren't a lot of alcoholics that were letting it be known that they had the solution. Mainly because society has a stigma and we can pay a price for telling somebody. Even if we're in recovery, hadn't had a drink for 10, 15 years, people can judge us. So oftentimes we don't share. And when we don't share that we're in the solution, other people that are in the problem that may just look like the person you're sitting next to at work, they may look like the person you see in the doctor's office or at church, and they don't know that they're this close, sitting this close to an answer. If only the person that is in the solution could feel free and safe to say, I'm in the solution. And if you want help, I'm your connection because I'm an alcoholic too. So that's getting comfortable with the word alcoholic. It takes some time. Nobody's going to love it in the beginning, and a lot of people have that stigma connected to it. But you know what? If you can grow and learn past where you are in that little bubble of ignorance, and I hope that word isn't offensive, but in that bubble of not really knowing what a recovering alcoholic looks like, what a lot of alcoholics that you're rubbing elbows with and you may not even know it, what they look like, then, it's hard to get comfortable with that word. But once you do, you're part of the solution. And isn't that great that you could say, I know this person and they can help you. So I'm Cathy McLeish, just trying to spread a little bit of information about alcoholism, the before, the after, and everything in between so that we can raise our awareness and be part of that solution. Thanks for listening.